is chasing his boyhood dream of becoming a ship captain. This simulator is part of his nautical studies at the Singapore Polytechnic. It's teaching him how to pilot the navigational systems of what's now become a complex and high-tech bridge.
Nowadays on board, we use ECDIS. ECDIS is Electronic Chart Display and Information System. So back in the days, many sailors, they use paper charts. So as the world is progressing and technology is advancing, we are now more towards ECDIS.
About 80 students per cohort are studying to go out to sea one day. And this year's batch will be the first to cover core modules on maritime sustainability to prepare them for the working world on shore or on deck. The students are part of a some 300-strong maritime cohort, many of whom will specialize in maritime business and engineering. In fact, one industry expert points out that jobs in the sector are not limited to just maritime students.
In recent times, companies appear to be more happy to employ people from diverse sectors. They are also prepared to employ students, graduates from other disciplines like data science, chemical engineering, and I believe that is because of the way the industry is transforming.
Highlighting the importance of sustainability and deep tech, the Senior Minister of State for Transport is appealing to the maritime sector to adopt these new changes or pay the price.
Companies and workers that can adjust quickly and effectively to these new requirements will stand to benefit from the waves of change. However, failure to adapt to these changes in good time could result in some companies losing business and some workers losing their jobs. So this is a serious matter.
Mr. Chi stresses that talent development and lifelong learning will play an important role in transforming Singapore's maritime industry. New initiatives were announced on the last day of Singapore Maritime Week, including the launch of an industry guidebook. It aims to help maritime companies create good jobs and good career progression for their workers. Singapore's first maritime postgraduate scholarship will also kick off later this year. It will help ramp up the sector's pipeline of researchers in decarbonization and digitalization.
Singapore manufacturers are slightly optimistic about business conditions improving. The Economic Development Board's latest survey shows a net-weighted 2% of firms are anticipating a better outlook for the second quarter of this year. The overall positive outlook comes as supply chain challenges ease. The transport engineering cluster is the most optimistic, with about 50% expecting a favorable environment. As air travel continues to pick up post-pandemic, it's pushed up demand for aircraft maintenance and repair. The chemicals cluster is also forecasting better business as economic activities increase in China over the coming months. However, firms such as those in the food and beverage and printing industries anticipate less favorable conditions, and that's due to concerns over higher raw material and operating costs. About 25% of firms in the precision engineering cluster also expecting lackluster business prospects, primarily because of companies in the machinery and systems segments. Now, they've expressed concern over US export restrictions on chips to China. Most of the sector expects hiring levels to remain similar to the first quarter.
So as inventories are being drawn down and demand starts to pick up in the second half of the year, coupled with the China reopening boost and the broadening of China's economic recovery, the improvement to the electronic sector would provide some support to the overall manufacturing sector.
Singtel is combining its consumer and enterprise businesses from the 1st of June. The Singapore Telco says the move aims to improve monetization and optimizing capabilities to drive growth. The company is also forming a new business arm. Its digital infraco will include the firm's regional data center business, underwater sea cable and satellite businesses. Starting June, the new entity will be helmed by Mr. Ng Tian Chong. He was previously HP's Senior Vice President and Managing Director for Greater Asia. This doesn't come from Singapore tonight. China is pointing fingers at each other in the wake of a near collision in the highly contested South China Sea. Plus incursions in the Taiwan Strait. Taipei reports a Chinese Scorpion combat drone circling the island.
Everyone is always on the go. There's also passion and movement to protect the interests of the underprivileged. I'm Wei Du, CNA, Hong Kong.
Biodiversity is booming, which is inviting for some local foragers and farmers who embrace edible wildlife.
We're the largest organic banana grower in Singapore.
This is jam? Amazing. So the mulberries are from the garden. Oh, that's delicious.
Singapore is ramping up conservation efforts locally and across the region.
I really do love reptiles and finding out about them, so I really love my job.
People must relate to the lives of the people.
目前还是一直要创新一些新的东西，我也不希望是人家把我看作是80岁的。
There are those who dare to be different, who have made their mark in Singapore and beyond.
You have such big dreams, you want to change the world with your art.
Obviously, every fighter wants to win, so all you can do is to prepare yourself to win.
Reaffirming the special relationship between Washington and Manila, U.S. President Joe Biden will be hosting his Philippine counterpart, Ferdinand Marcos Jr., at the White House. It's a push for closer ties against a backdrop of growing regional tensions. On your next Asia First, we look at what's at stake in a meeting between Washington and its oldest ally in Asia.
Updating tonight's top stories, jobs growth slowed in the first quarter of this year, with retrenchments rising for the third straight quarter. Despite that, unemployment rate stayed low amid high demand. The Labour moved pilots a scheme to help young job seekers transition to work career job mentorships to price increases of resale flats continue to see the third straight quarter, prices ticking up just 1% in the first quarter.
On to some regional news now, and a near collision between a Chinese and a Philippine patrol boat in the South China Sea has exposed the feuding that still exists between the countries over disputed territory, despite recent efforts to ease tensions. This is just days before the Philippines President Ferdinand Marcos Jr. makes a White House visit to discuss regional security with his United States counterpart, President Joe Biden. Now, in Sunday's incident in the Spratly Islands, two boats from the Philippine Coast Guard approached the Ayungin Shoal, that's known in China as Renai Jiao. And there's one boat near the shoal. A Chinese Coast Guard vessel, more than twice its size, sailed into its path.
China has a disputable frontage over islands in the South China Sea and their adjacent waters.
The Chinese vessel issued a radio warning to the Philippine ship. The Philippine Coast Guard radioed back and told the Chinese Coast Guard to stay clear of their way.
The Ayungin Shoal falls within the Philippine Exclusive Economic Zone. Request to stay clear from our passage in accordance with the collision regulations. Over.
The Philippine captain said the Chinese ship came within 45 meters of his boat, and only his quick actions stopped the vessels from crashing into each other. But Beijing insists that the Philippine boats had, quote, intruded into its territory.
需要强调的是，菲方船只搭载记者冲闯仁爱礁海域，是一场有预谋的挑衅行为，蓄意找茬碰瓷，并借机炒作。中方对此表示严正抗议和强烈不满，敦促菲方尊重中国在南海的领土主权和海洋权益，停止采取导致局势复杂化的行动。
A long-range Chinese combat drone capable of carrying a large weapons payload has circled Taiwan. The island's defense ministry says it's one of 38 Chinese aircraft spotted